Response video to Piro. Once again, talking this quantum crap connected with determinism, which has nothing to do with the subject as most people talk about it. And he's talking like, well, how can people be this way about blah, blah, blah? Because you don't say anything explicit or rational. You don't say anything consistent. You just keep talking crap. I mean, you just keep messing these words up and just creating fog on this subject. And it's just bullshit. And you're doing it with just these vague references to some established science that you don't establish with any kind of evidence. You just say it like everybody believes it and it's the truth and you have to believe that. Well, no, I don't. You're full of shit. So I only got 3 minutes and I just got too pissed. So I'll go back to a minute and we'll go through some of this shit.
That determinability is somehow established. And it's just funny because in a world where we have...
Yeah, nobody's done that. Nobody said determinability has been established. Okay, like somehow we are able to determine. But what has been established is the rational description of reality where we don't have any instruments that can detect the function, the physics, on a certain level. There's just no physics to reach that physics with. We have to do it through instrumentality, and there's no instrumentality that we can fiddle with photons with that is going to give us any kind of information about what exactly they're doing. We can see where they come from, and we can see where they end up. And we can't see exactly what they do in between. But the truth is that it is predictable what happens. The end is predictable. And that's the part you're denying. And everything on our level of physics, in terms of reliable procedures, clock ticks, different things, is incredibly predictable.
I've determined never anything. Exactly. Never. Not one thing. How people could say, oh, but obviously you could. And I know where that comes from in the history.
Yeah, it comes from basic logic that there's a 100% chance that when I drop this pen, gravity's going to push it down, it's going to fall. There it is. It's going to happen every fucking time I do it, and I can do it a zillion million times, and it's going to happen every fucking goddamn time. Because we have eliminated all the variables. There's no variables here, Piro. There's no quantum that's going to go shoot it over there. It ain't going to happen. A whole bunch of quantums aren't going to pile up together and shoot it over there. As much as you like to believe it happens, it doesn't fucking happen. Statues don't raise their arms and say hello. Even if you have a zillion, gazillion, bazillion million years, it's not going to fucking goddamn happen. I actually need that pen. I'm going to go find it. So, yeah, this is just bullshit. What you have is no evidence. You're the one with the lack of evidence. You have no evidence of any irregularity that takes place in this physical world that we can touch.
Science, it's a misapplication, a fallacious application.
Yeah, you're the fallacious applicator, okay? You're a fucking fallacious applicating on your own ass that you're talking out of, okay? Your preparation applicating your fucking own ass so you can babble and spit more of this puke.
Induction. We went out there and started trying to determine things and found, hey, whenever you try, look, you get more and more determination. So by induction, eventually, it has a single answer.
Oh, yeah, no. By deduction, what we figured out was, oh, yeah, it's a mechanical world. That's right. We figured out diseases caused by microbes and viruses, and we just add all these things up, and we say, okay, we make bigger telescopes and better microscopes, and we can see deeper and deeper. But we still have this problem, this theoretical problem, where we don't have instruments. We can't cut a blade fine enough to cut the smallest blade. Come on.
Now, that was a good idea. I probably would have been on board with that. But then in the 20th century, all that fell apart. We got to a level where the non-determinability, physical non-determinability, seems to have its own physical nature, that there's a barrier.
Yeah. He's trying to say there's something about the nature of it that makes it undeterminable. No, the fact is that what makes it undeterminable is our lack of vision. We can't see the variables. We can't see them, so they must remain variables. They must remain unknown. They must remain obscured from our vision. And that's all there is. There's our lack of vision, our inability to see. There is fog. There is no conclusion that can be drawn about what's on the other side of the fog.
And then certainty, an indeterminable part of physics, right? So it doesn't just have to do, for me, with is there only one future that's already there? It has to do more fundamentally with...
Yeah, well, that is the sort of the fundamental question. And again, we already know the answer to that question for us. All right? Our future, this big physics future, this is determined. You're not going to unravel it with any quantum crapola. There's no quantum effect that has any meaningful effect on any possibilities going forward. There will be no quantum that will make a right decision, a wrong decision, or a wrong decision, or a right decision. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen. On this level of the universe, it's friggin' determined. This is as determined as the orbit of the moon and the orbit of the Earth around the sun. It's as reliable and solid as you can goddamn get.
It doesn't matter. We can't figure it out. It could be there, it could not be. It doesn't matter. We could prove we can't figure it out. It's not determinable by us.
Yeah, by us. Again, so these little subtle qualifications you put on this mush. But that's right. It's by us. With current technology, we can't determine very, very tiny elements of determinism. But these big elements of determinism, we've got it.
By the kind of creatures we are, or any creature that we could become, or anything that exists.
Yeah, again, to keep spilling it over into some sort of bigger picture that this quantum crap has absolutely nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with the physical properties of elements, their structure, and how they will function.
And I don't know why is this difficult? Look, in mathematics, we have the answer in the 20th century as well. You've got things in mathematics with an infinite amount of unique detail.
Yeah, right. That's just a crock of shit on its face. You only create that artificially. You don't create that in any real sense, in any real math. You can only create that by creating a formula that just says keep multiplying by 2, or keep dividing by 2, or creating a formula, too, that's not resolvable by us because we don't have enough time to resolve it, because the resolution is going to require you to go all the way down to the quantum level before you're going to get resolution, because it's essentially the math requires you to count every single quanta in the universe. Yes, that will take a long time.
Right. Like the digits of a transcendental number, or a fractal, or cellular automata can display these behaviors, recursive processes of all sorts. Okay, and they're purely mathematical and determinable. They have every element that you make you think, oh, well, that's going to have one answer at the end. Sure, but if you're in the middle of this series, you can't find out where you're in the series. That's not determinable. Right? And you can't know what the end series that is there in principle is going to be. You are cut off from that.
But
and
again,
no examples of this.
You're cut off only by ignorance. You're not cut off by anything about the thing itself. You're only cut off because you can't sit there and reduce yourself to a small enough size to examine it with the common senses we examine things with. And that's just the truth. Our senses can't reach it. It doesn't mean it doesn't have a physical reality.
So, why not just try to understand some of these limits that we run up against? Like in the case of quantum mechanics, figure out why the probability itself is thought to be material.
Yeah, is thought to be. So there's the key words. Is thought to be. Is thought to be by who? All right, you want to start naming names, please? Name me the fucking names, okay? Is thought to be. Okay, by who? Who thinks so? Einstein didn't think so. I don't think so. So you give me some names of the people who do think so, okay? Who drew this conclusion from this fucking piece of crap experiment that has never been done in any kind of disciplined manner to disprove the conclusions that have been drawn from it. So I want to see the skeptics with this stupid two-slit experiment in their fucking hand and some sort of university or give. I've challenged you before. Show me this experiment done under the conditions I've stated. You haven't shown me any evidence. Not one single piece of evidence.
It's not just that we don't know. It's impossible with the two-slit experiment. It is impossible that the particle went through one slit only.
Yeah, so you just made a statement that you can't defend with any evidence. You just said it's impossible that there is a physical, rational, reasonable, within the confines of physics, explanation for how the photon ended up where it ended up, and that it did it through the simple process of going through one of the slits and reflecting. And you're saying that's not possible. There's no possible way the model of the universe, the structure of the physics of the atoms themselves, and the atomic particle structure could permit that. And yet quantum mechanics will give you math that will allow you to go from the target right back to the frickin' gun. Right? Going through one or the other of the slits every damn time.
You don't know which it is. That's impossible. Why? Because since it's a wave, it interferes with itself to trigger the slits.
Okay, it's not a wave. So it's here, Peter. This is what I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you a deceptive, manipulating liar. Okay? We've had this conversation over and over. You've conceded that the word wave is a distortion. It's a manipulation. It's not a correct metaphor. That is, in fact, a metaphorical wave, not a real wave. It's a metaphorical wave. And it's used to describe a probability function, which in true physics, probability doesn't exist. The only thing probability arises out of is ignorance. There is no probability in the universe. Nothing in the universe acts on probability. Everything in the universe acts on determinism, okay, and inevitability. That's what the universe functions on, and probability is only a manifestation of our ignorance. It only exists in our ignorant models of reality. It does not exist in reality. So your wave cannot possibly exist in reality because it is made out of a function that does not exist in the universe. You fucking cunt.
One wave turned into something that looks like two waves. It then has a chance to interfere with itself.
Right, not proven that it's an interference. The interference pattern can be explained through other functions of physics called reflection and refraction. That's what fucking particles can do. They can be reflected and they can be refracted. And that can explain the patterns on those frickin' targets.
And so you can tell that something went through both slits. And it wasn't the single particle, which is...
Yeah, well, again, you're making a statement that's beyond the evidence, and that just makes you, what, a cult figure? Yeah, it makes you part of some kind of truther network who thinks it's a conspiracy to cover up the truth, okay, that, yeah, particles don't do what you think they do. They don't go in two places at once. They don't interact with themselves. They don't do any of this crap you're making up. And you're just making it up. You have no frickin' evidence.
Appears in the detector as a single particle. So even if there is a secret hidden variable, I put some of this in comments.
A secret hidden variable, right. The fact is we can't see anything about these particles, so it's not a secret hidden variable. It's just simply a variable. And yes, the fact is we can't decipher the variable. It's an unresolved variable. That's what you create probability out, an unresolved variable. When variables become resolved, then probability is eliminated. Okay? So there's nothing mysterious here. All there is our ignorance. And you're filling in the ignorance with crap, with nonsense, with a fable, with a story you've told.
To how the dice are rolled when the wave gets to the screen. Fact is, the probability was still material.
And there is no material probability. You have no evidence of the existence of any material probability. None whatsoever. As I've just explained, the whole concept of probability only exists in an atmosphere of ignorance. That's the only way any other probability exists is through ignorance. And you're just being fucking ignorant. Fucking ignorant. Fucking ignorant. You're being fucking ignorant.
Slits, or whatever field it is that relates to...
Or whatever, or somehow, well, it's all kind of magical, specially, magical. No, it isn't. God damn, I wish I could revive Einstein to just beat the motherfucking shit out of you. I'd pay real money for that fight.
Directly to probability. Something, a disturbance in that field went through both slits.
No evidence. You have nothing corroborating that. Nothing demonstrating that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It can be explained with other models of physics. So all you do is change the model a little tiny bit, and you can explain it as refraction and reflection. And again, you could test for that if you simply do this two-slit experiment, okay, without changing the position of the gun, without changing the position of the slits, and by covering one of the slits and uncovering one of the slits. And so if they honestly do this fucking experiment, they can find out that, oh yeah, look at that, it completely changes. And all you do, you cover one of the slits and you realize, oh, I get it now, it's refraction. And you can do it with a lot of other ways too. You can see photons being bent by atomic structure. It happens all the time. And their pathway is bent.
But the particle appears to be a singular thing that could only go through one slit. Okay, so it doesn't matter determinism-wise what you answer on, hey, when the dice are rolled.
Yeah, well, listen. So he's basing his arrogant pontifications on the subject of determinism based on this stupid two-slit experiment, which is just the biggest. This is the biggest fake since whatever. Juno Man or whatever the fuck it is. I mean, this is a scientific fraud of preposterous proportions, this stupid two-slit crap.
The fact is that things are happening in between the dice rolls. And in that period, it's as if any of the dice roll could come up. It could go through this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no evidence that a dice has ever changed its fucking rolling pattern based on any kind of quantum irregularity. Because the irregularities, even if they were the 250 possible permutations, were even within, were in fact some sort of non-mechanical function of photons, even if it was magic. The magic is so distant from changing the effect on a hugely dense, zillions and zillions of photon thick dice are the things it's bouncing off of. There is no possibility you change a dice roll with any quantum effect. This is just such a pile of fucking shit.
This could go through that. You roll the dice, it's like, oh, I went through this. But the weird thing is, since they're waves, you can never trace back.
Yeah, again, so you're saying it explicitly again, since they are waves. All right, so you're ignoring the fact that the wave word was used to describe a wave function, which was what they were describing as the probability function, because it has a curve. Like probabilities always have curves. Like there's a 20% chance, and at the middle there's a 100% chance, and there's a 20 at the other end. It's that kind of thing. That's what probability does. It has a wave pattern to it. Okay, but it's just a wave pattern of probability. It has nothing to do. It just has to do with our ignorance. It has nothing to do with anything in the thing itself.
After you find it, say which one. It'll be in a place that could have come from either slit, and in fact, all of the places could come from either slit. Because the fact is that the particles have coherent states that are the state where the probability is behaving materially and physically and has physical properties as probability.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay, it's going to be explicitly affected by things within the realm of the physical dynamics, the properties that exist, and we know those properties aren't infinite. We know that there's not an infinite effect, between things. That the effect, the strength of that influence diminishes with distance. Shit. So we know some of this stuff, Pierrot.
Okay. So yeah, non-determinability of the universe. That's the main point. There's a million arguments of why humans will never determine things. So I object to systems to say, yeah, but let's just
you object to reason.
Happen. No, it can never happen. Even if the world is that way, it can't happen. We will never determine it. Let's start our philosophy from we're in a non-determinable universe situation. That's the universe to us is non-determinable.
Yeah, there's things that are determinable, okay, with rock solid, hard reality. There are certain effects that are going to take place, and this wishy-washy, well, we can just hope our way past it. We'll just invest in the 1 in 1 gazillion possibilities or something. No, it's just not going to happen. There's no variability here that has anything to do with reality. And putting your hopes on the fact that some statue in Washington, D.C. is all of a sudden going to raise its hand to the sky and point to the solution. It isn't going to goddamn happen. You can wait around for a bazillion years, and it's just not going to fucking happen.
Determinable, and invent, systems that handle non-determinability instead of living in a world where we have to deal with non-determinability, pretending that we use determinability to deal with it. That's why we're confused.
Yeah, we're not confused. We know that when winter's coming, that we know what kind of weather we can expect. We can see certain patterns, and we know there's going to be an effect, okay? There's certain things happening. Yes, there's going to be tornadoes, and it's good advice to sit there and listen to the guy when he says there's going to be more tornadoes this week. And these are all rational things we can do with our understanding of this cause and effect reality that we exist in. And we can't wish away human dispositions and human nature. We can't wish away any of these things with some sort of hope and bullshit. It has to be some sort of explanation of how you get there from here to there with some sort of determined, purposeful path. You have to write the rational path. You have to show it theoretically how it can happen. You can't just wish for it. You have to draw a picture of it. How are you going to get from here to there? And you have to draw a map of it. Because you're not going to wave your fucking way there. All right? You're going to walk your way there. You're going to get there the way big matter gets to places. And it's not because it's doing some kind of wave thing.
It is almost psychotic to live in a world so uncertain and non-determinable and go, but we're in a world of determinability. There is one right answer. Okay.
I don't even know what does that apply to. There is one right answer. Do you think there's a wrong answer on slavery? No, there's one right answer. Do you think there's a wrong answer? Like, we could go right down the goddamn list. There's a right way to bake a cake, and there's a wrong way to bake a cake. If you're using horse shit and dog shit and cat shit, and then mixing it with piss, you're not going to come up with a very fucking good cake. I don't want you to serve it at my birthday anyway. So fuck you. There's a reality here to be dealt with, and it all doesn't hinge on some sort of flukeries of subatomic particle dynamics. And again, those dynamics are just unrevealed to us, but we know the confinement they exist in. They're in a narrow confinement. Even if we concede their probability as a reality, their unresolvability as a reality, the confinement of that randomness is irrelevant to every significant function taking place in our world. Every bit of what we perceive is not being affected by that tiny irregularity in the function of the universe. And again, you're relying, this is just so obviously coincidental, that the smallest thing in the universe is where you go to find randomness and improbability. Oh, isn't that a surprise? All of a sudden, all the magic, we keep closing all the magic doors. We keep getting rid of the boogeyman and the God and the other mysticism and other bullshit. We close all those doors with rational investigation, and where do you run? Where do you run to your magic? Yeah, that's right. The one place left where we can't dissect. The one place we can't take a scalpel to it and rip it open and say, see, there's no fucking ether in there. There's no demons in there. It's just fucking mechanics. Fuck you.